I assert that nothing ever comes to pass without a cause, a quote by Jonathan Edwards. Like Edwards, we are the sum total of our experiences, combined with the decisions made along life's path. Here are a brief overview of the life and accomplishments of Jonathan Edwards. Jonathan Edwards was born the only son of Puritan parents. Timothy Edwards, his father, was a reverend to the East Windsor, Connecticut congregation. His mother, Esther, was the mother of 11 children. Jonathan was quite literally surrounded by females throughout his younger years. The Edwards family were a prominent family within the community. This allowed Jonathan an excellent education and opportunities not given to everyone in the community. However, this also came with expectations suited to someone in his family's position. The Edwards family were devout Puritans who had a history of ministry within the colonial church. Edwards graduated from Yale at the ripe old age of 18, where he studied theology, metaphysics, and philosophy. According to Jonathan Edwards, a biography from Jonathan Edwards Center at Yale University, Edwards became interested in the debate between Orthodox Calvinism of his Puritan forefathers and the more liberal movements that challenged it, like deism. Following his graduation from Yale, Edwards became the apprentice to his grandfather, Solomon Stoddard, who was also a renowned figure in his own right. The apprenticeship lasted 2 years. In 1729, Jonathan Edwards was given the opportunity to become a reverend to his own congregation in the Northampton parish in Massachusetts, according to Jonathan Edwards Christianity Today history. Edwards married Sarah Piermont. Of the union, Edwards is quoted as stating that it was an uncommon union. This uncommon union produced 11 children. Edward's desires aligned well with both that of his father and his grandfather, which was at its core the serious business of conversion to the people of the true faith. The period in which the Edwards family was raised was filled with stories of wars between the Catholic French and Native Americans who fought alongside the French against the English Protestants. Several of the Edwards extended family members were taken captive by the Native Americans and held captive in Canada by the Jesuit French. These stories had great impact and effects on Edwards and his desire to bring all those he came into contact with to the conversion of the true faith in Jesus Christ. Edwards believed, as did others during this great awakening, that he was fighting, literally, for the very souls of those he ministered. Death was a very real and constant visitor to those in this time. To die without taking Jesus into one's heart and soul damned them to the literal and eternal fires of hell. During this time, the Great Awakening, beginning in the early 1740s, Edward produced the most famous sermon in United States history, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Jonathan did not inherit his father's passionate ability to preach. However, the contention of his writing deemed him one of the most intellectual thinkers in American history. In 1750, Edwards had a falling out with the congregation of Northampton, which arose out of Edwards' desire to limit the church membership and rein in those who were not true converts. Although Edwards had the opportunity to go to Scotland or other Puritan established places, Jonathan lived his true belief and left the comforts of home in order to become a missionary to the Mohawks in Cambridge. During this time of missionary work, Edwards was able to pen many of his famous works, including The Arminian Controversy, The Nature of True Virtue, and The Ends for Which Created the God. These can be found at Jonathan Edwards Center at Yale University. Edwards' final career accomplishment was to be president of the College of New Jersey, known better as Princeton University. Shortly after taking this position, Edward died of a smallpox inoculation, leaving behind outlines and notes for his theological works he wanted to complete. Edwards held true to his faith through his life, circumstances, and causation from decisions made by his relatives, as well as those throughout his lifetime. Although this allowed him to taste many facets of life, it tested him in his philosophy and as well as his reliance on the grace of God.